Welcome to the practice volume test. Let's do the walkthrough and check our answers, and hopefully do it. Remember, you're supposed to be doing the problem first and then listening to the answer. So our first question is, what is the volume of the cylinder below? Well, we know that volume is the area of the base, that's big B, times height. In the case of a circle, which is our base here is a circle, the big B is pi times r squared, and then we got to bring back our height. So here I'm going to have volume is 3.14 times, what's my radius? My radius is 3 feet, so 3 squared times the length is, or the length or height is 12. I use my handy dandy calculator, and I get 3.14 times 3 squared, yes I know that's 9, times 12. And I get 339.12, and there's that answer, 339.12 cubic feet. Alright, let's look down at the next one. This one says, what's the volume of the cone? Again, the formula is volume equals big B times height. In the case of a cone, you're multiplying it by 1/3. So volume equals, base is the circle, which is pi r squared times height times 1/3, and you can put the 1/3 before or after, it's up to you. Volume equals pi. R is 2, so times 2 squared times the height is 18 times 1/3. So I type all that in the computer. I'm using 3.14 for pi, 3.14 times 2 squared. Hopefully you knew that 2 squared was 4 times 18 times 1 divided by 3. You can actually just put divide by 3. So it gets 75.36. There it is. It's rounded up to 75.4. All right. Question 3. What is the volume of the sphere below? Remember, volume of the sphere, volume equals 4/3 pi cubed, because there's that height. In a sphere, you've got r squared. Oops, sorry, r cubed. What did I do there? Volume equals 4/3 pi times r cubed, because you've got r. Radius is all the way across, but your height is actually again your radius. So I can type that in. Well, let's put it in. Volume equals 4/3 times pi, or 3.14, times our radius is 9, so 9 cubed. And I'm glad I have a calculator for this. 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 9. Remember, the up caret is our key here. It's right next to the square there. Up caret 3. Hit enter. I got 3052.08. Well, there it is right there. 3052.1. It's rounded up to the nearest tenth. All right. Question number 4. A can of milk has the shape of a cylinder. The radius of the base is 2.1 inches, and the height of the can is 5 inches. What is the volume? Let me draw my can, because I love drawing cans. And it definitely says it's milk. So the radius is 2.1, and the height is 5. All right, I know that volume equals big B times H. In the case of a cylinder, volume equals pi times r squared H. In this case, volume equals pi 3.14 times r squared is 2.1 squared times height is 5. So 3.14 times 2.1 squared, whoops, got a little extra in there, times 5. I get 69.237, and there it is, 69.2. We'll move up here. Alright, a 5-pin bowling ball has a diameter of 5 inches. What's the volume of the bowling ball? So I can draw my bowling ball. I love drawing this little thing here. So the diameter, that means all the way across, is 5 inches. Now I don't really care about the diameter. I really just want the radius. So volume equals, of a sphere, is 4/3 times pi r cubed, right? So we're going to put volume equals 4/3 times 3.14 times radius, half of a diameter is the radius, so 5 divided by 2 is 2.5 cubed. Here comes my cool calculator. 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 2.5, remember that up caret, cubed. I get 65.41. There's my answer, 65.4. That's to the nearest tenth. Alright, let's talk about volcanoes, which are big cones. A volcano has a height of let me draw my volcano. Yay, volcano. Has a height of 1.1 kilometers and a base diameter, that's all the way across, of 3.2. I don't really care about diameter. So the volume of a cone is 1/3 big B times height. In this case, volume equals 1/3 times big B is pi r squared times height. So my volume, I'm going to drop down here, is 1/3 times 3.14 times r squared, which is half of this, 3.2, half of it is 1.6, times height is 1.1. Oh, sorry, I forgot my squared there. Times 1.1. So, it ran off. It went just enough time. 1 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 1.6 squared times 1.1. And that equals 2.947. There it is, or to the nearest tenth, 2.947 cubic kilometers. That'd be scary. That's a lot of potato chips. I love food. Potato chips are sold in a cylindrical can. See, because I'm not allowed to say Pringles. Here's my Pringles can. I mean my cylindrical can. So there's my can. The can has a radius of 1.3 inches. So the radius is 1.3 and a height of 10 inches. And the chips don't fill the whole thing. What's the volume of the can to the nearest tenth? So let's do it. The volume of the cylinder equals area of the base times the height, or in the case of the area of the base of a circle is pi r squared, so pi times r squared times height. Let's fill in with numbers, 3.14 times 1.3 squared times 10. And we resort to calculators. 3.14 times 1.3 squared times 10. The volume is, and we want to the nearest tenth. So 53 point, and it says 0.6. Well, the 6 is equal to or greater than 5, so it makes the number before it jump up. 53.1 cubic inches. Alright, let's go to side 2. The B side of the record. You guys don't understand B side statements, but that's okay. So I'm old. So here we got the volume of a cone, and I'm going to draw my picture of my cone just so I got it. The volume is 294.38 centimeters. The height is 5 centimeters. What's the diameter? So we know the volume equals the 1/3 times the area of the base, big B, times height. So volume equals 1/3 times pi r squared times height. Let's fill in the parts we know. We know the volume is 29.38 cubic centimeters, and so that volume equals 1/3 times 3.14. We know the height, so we don't know the radius, times the radius squared times the height is 5. Now, you guys, remember, you can use NSolve, and that's perfectly fine. You can use the math, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to use NSolve because I can, and it makes me happier to do so. I can also do the math where I move and divide and do all that stuff all the way across. Both ways work. But let's start it. So, menu, algebra, numerical solve. I'm going to type in exactly what I got, 29.38 equals 1 divided by 3 times 3.14 times r, or where's the r down here? R squared times 5, and remember I got to tell it what I want, comma, r, I'm looking for r, and then hit enter. And it says it's 2.36939. And I'm just going to round off to the hundredths. 2.40 centimeters. That's the diameter. Alright, moving on. The formula for the volume of a cylinder is volume equals pi r squared times height. Which part of the formula represents the area of the base? Well, the formula for the volume of the cylinder is volume equals big BH. So all we got to do here is go remove the parts that are already there. So H, we've got H there, we scratch that out. B, we scratch that out. Equals, we scratch that out. What are we left with? Pi r squared. A cone has the same radius as a sphere and exactly the same height. Which has the greater volume? Cone or the sphere? We already know cone is the weakest of all, so the sphere will always have the greater volume. Yeah, the ratio is cone, sphere, and cylinder. Smallest to largest. Alright, so let's look down here. We've got a triangle, and this is kind of a throwback. Remember the triangle theorem rules that say the inside equal 180? Or because this is supplementary, it means these two angles actually equal 132. And that's the way I'm going to go. I'm going to add the angles together. So 4x plus 4 plus 6x minus 12 equals 132. I'm going to combine like terms. So 4x and 6x is 10x plus 4 and negative 12. Remember, whichever one is farthest from 0, take that, keep that sign, subtract the other. So 12 minus 4 is, so I've got a negative 8, and that equals 132. Draw my line and break this up. First thing I'll do is take care of addition and subtraction with the variable. So the opposite of negative 8 is positive 8. That goes out. I get 10x equals 132 plus 8 is 140. I divide both sides by 10. I end up with x equals 14. So now I've got to go for measurement of angle B. It was very kind of me not to even label them. That's pretty funny. I didn't even label the angles there. So this let's go with this is A and this is B. That was pretty sad. So 4x plus 4, I replace the x. So 4 times 14 plus 4. I got a handy dandy calculator for that. 4 times 14 plus 4 equals 60. So I'm going to go with 60. Alright, let's look at this one. What is the missing measure? Now we've got two similar triangles because they're inside, they share the same angles. Remember, they share two common angles and they're the same triangle. So this one, and this is a ratio question, so this one is 14 high over 12 long. And that would equal x high over 3 long. Well, what did I have to do to 12 to get 3? I divided it by 4. So I divided 12 by 4, I got 3. So 14 divided by 4. Now, because I can use a calculator, I will. So 14 divided by 4. And I get 7 over 2. Let me hit my control enter. I get 3.5 centimeters. There's the answer right there. Whoops, you can't see the answer. There's the answer right there. So, let's go on to question 13. Are the triangles below similar? So, first of all, I got to figure out what's there. I know I've got two angles that match. I got to find another. So, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to solve for each triangle. Let me move this down because I'm going to use the top a little bit here. So, I know that these three equal 180. So, 6x plus 5 plus 6x minus 5 plus 60 equals 180. I combine like terms. 6x and 6x is 12x. 5 minus 5 is 0 plus 60 is 60. And that equals 180. I can now do my little drop down. Minus 60. Minus 60. Those go away. I get 12x equals 120. So I divide both sides by 12. I get x here. X equals 10. So 60, there's 10. 60 plus 5 is 65. And 6x is 60 minus 5 is 55. And I can check and make sure all those add to 180, which they do. I come to my other one. I'm doing the same thing. 10y minus 5 plus 8y minus 1 plus 60 equals 180. Combine like terms. 10y and 8y is 18y. Minus 5 minus 1, that's minus 6. Plus 60, remember keep the biggest one and subtract the other. So 60 minus 6 is plus 56 equals 180. I subtract 56, 56 from both sides. Got to make a line here. That goes away. I get 18y equals 180 minus 56 is 124. I divide both sides by 18. I'm going to use a calculator. I won't lie on this one. 124 divided by 18 is 6.8. Oh my gosh, do you know what I just figured out I did wrong? This is 54. That makes me dumb. Because negative 5 and negative 1 is 6. 60 minus 6 is 54. Okay, so I'm slow. And that changes that to 126, which will give me an answer that's better. Now, 126 divided by 18 is 7. So y equals 7. So 10 times 7 is 70, minus 5 is 65. Hey, there it is. I only need 2 angles. I can figure out the other one. 8 times 7 is 56, minus 1 is 55. All my angles match. They are similar. Number 14. Yeah, I'm expected to make a mistake every once in a while. More than once in a while. A triangle has sides with lengths of 18 centimeters, 22 centimeters, 28 centimeters. Is it a right triangle? Okay. First thing to do is identify C. C will be the longest, so that is C. So what we should have is a squared. There's no good place to put this, is there? Here we go. A squared. So 18 squared plus b squared, 22 squared, equals c squared, 28 squared. It says that's false. This is definitely not a right triangle. No. I love simple answers like that. All right, the last one is find the measure of the hypotenuse in this triangle. Again, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 9 squared plus 15 squared equals c squared. And remember, to get rid of the squares, if I square root them on both sides, I end up with square root of a squared plus b squared. Ooh, I didn't put squared. Equals, well, c times c is c squared, so c times itself, and that equals c. So now I go in my calculator. I type in control. I hit that button so I get the square root. A squared is 9 squared plus b squared is 15 squared. And I hit enter. And I find out it's 17 point, it says the nearest tenth. I got 49. Well, 9 is definitely 5 or bigger, so we'll drive it up 17.5 inches. Hope that was helpful, even when I made mistakes. For those of you who caught it fast, I'm glad.